Hello. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe.
I didn't catch the affair in a text thread or lipstick on a collar. I caught it in the way the house learned a new rhythm without me. We lived on the same cul-de-sac for 8 years, the kind with mailboxes that match and neighbors who weaponize. Friendly. My wife, Erin, ran the HOA's events committee. The neighbor 2 doors down, Dr. Colin Hart, chaired safety. He was the kind of physician who never said he was tired, just sighed like the air owed him another lung. They met at a block party where he refilled the propane, she refilled the wine, and I refilled the cooler and told myself that a good marriage is humility with groceries. The first off note was the door chime. Our smart lock plays a cheerful trill when the door opens. For weeks, that trill would sound at odd hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, earrings, yoga nights. The log showed the door opening from a saved code labeled guest. When I asked, she said she'd given the dog walker a code to help with the back gate. We don't have a dog. Then there were the shoes. Colin's running shoes are bright safety yellow, impossible to ignore. I saw the same footprint pattern in the faint dust by our garage door, like a calling card. Erin said the HVAC guy must have tracked it in. I checked the HVAC invoice, scheduled for next month. I changed 2 things and said nothing. First, I turned on a feature in our router that logs new devices. Second, I replaced the battery in the doorbell camera and set the zone to catch the slice of driveway that includes the passenger side of a car pulled too close to the hedge. You learn the angles of your house when you start suspecting it's performing without you. On a rain-sweet Thursday, the router chirped. A new device named HeartWatch connected to our Wi-Fi at 7:12 p.m. The doorbell caught a figure with a hood stepping from a silver SUV to our porch. The hood turned into the shape of a man I'd helped move a treadmill last spring. Rin's text pinged 30 minutes later. Running late. Good class. Looked at the feed of my living room. Set to record on motion. 2 bodies on our couch. A hand I recognized lifted a wine glass I bought for our 10th anniversary. I closed the app and stared at the blank of my phone until my reflection came back, small and dumb in the black. I didn't go home. I sat in a grocery store parking lot and made a plan, ugly enough to make sense. I work in information security. Not the cowboy kind, where you write policies no one reads until after the breach. I know 2 truths. Logs don't lie, and consent matters in ways that courtrooms care about. Our state is 2-party consent for audio recordings. Cameras in your own home are legal if you disclose them to residents. Erin had helped mount one, laughed at herself in the wide angle. The doorbell was obvious. The router logs are mine. I would not record a whispered word. I would show only what could stand up to a judge with a headache. The timing fell into my lap. The HOA planned its annual budget meeting at the clubhouse the following Wednesday. Colin would present safety upgrades. Erin would MC and pass out sugar cookies shaped like our logo. Attendance would be high because dues were about to go up. I requested a slot on the agenda. Home network security demonstration. Sold. It as a public service. How to lock your Wi-Fi, avoid phishing, protect smart homes. The board loved it. We could call it Cyber Night. People who never backed up a photo RSVP'd with enthusiasm. I spent the weekend collecting what I'd need and nothing I shouldn't. Doorbell stills. No faces. It's just timestamps and silhouettes stepping across my threshold when my calendar said, Erin was at yoga. Router logs. Anonymized device names showing HeartWatch and HeartPap joining on 5 different nights, each within minutes of the doorbell pings. Smart lock logs. The guest code used 15 times in 6 weeks. Every Tuesday and Thursday between 6:30 and 9 p.m., our interior camera. I pulled only a single frame that showed 2 glasses on a coffee table and a pair of safety yellow shoes beside our rug. No bodies, no audio, enough to point at without sinking myself. I printed everything like a man building a case for a boss. Who doesn't like him? I made a deck, blue background, white titles, no drama fonts. I rehearsed the talk twice, then stood in the empty clubhouse and rehearsed the silence after slide 12. It's the one where the still of the shoes would appear, and people would start breathing differently. Wednesday came clear and cold. The clubhouse smelled like coffee and carpet cleaner. Karen worked the room with a tray of cookies, gold hair pinned back the way she knows I like. She kissed my cheek in a way that felt like PR. Colin arrived late, wearing the scrubs and fleece combo that says, "I'm busy saving. What are you doing?" He clapped me on the shoulder and called me man, which is a word men use when they want to skip names. The meeting droned toward my slot: landscaping, speed bumps, pool hours. Then, cyber night. I connected my laptop, the screen filled. The wall. I talked about passwords and phishing and cheap cameras that end up on search engines that index unsecured feeds. People murmured about the horror. I showed them how to change a default router password and how to label devices, kept it useful long enough that they trust me when the useful stopped. Finally, I said, a quick example of how logs tell stories. Slide 11. A list of timestamps and device joint sanitized. No addresses, just the rhythm. Tuesday, 7:12 p.m. Thursday, 6:58 p.m. It's Tuesday, 7:05 p.m. if you see new devices on your network at predictable times, I said. Ask who they belong to. Slide 12. The doorbell still two shoes, bright as warning tape at the edge of a rug I recognize better than my face. Silence is a temperature. The room dropped 10 degrees. Someone laughed once, confused. Irene's hand found the back of a folding chair and gripped. I did not say names. I didn't point at anyone. I let the numbers and shoes stand under the fluorescent light. Colin spoke first. He asked, too loudly, "Is that even legal to show?" He meant the slide. He meant our living room. He meant the possibility that he had tripped a wire he hadn't. Sin. It's my data, I said evenly. No audio, no faces. If you're worried about legality, that's an interesting place to start. He stood, knocking his chair. Aaron said my name in a tone I'd never heard, part rage, part plea, part corporate. You've made your point, she said. I closed the laptop. No, I said softly. I haven't. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I slid a sealed envelope across to the HOA president inside, a note withdrawing from any future events and a link to a folder labeled for counsel. I turned to Aaron. When you get home, I said, there will be 2 bags by the door with your essentials. You'll find a temporary card and a list of hotels. Your mother knows. The room watched us like a screen they didn't pay for. Colin said something about defamation. I said something about access logs. People suddenly discovered. Fascinating. Crumbs on their plates. I left first. I wanted my house before anyone else needed it. Erin got home fast enough to beat the last of the cold. She didn't try the performance. She went straight to fury. You humiliated me, she said. You humiliated yourself, I said. She looked at the bags were clothes, toiletries. It's the framed photo from our 5th anniversary that I put on top because I'm mean in elegant ways, and she started to cry. We can talk, she said. We can talk in front of lawyers, I replied. I thought that would be the end. Attorneys, a divided wardrobe, a long, dull march through equitable distribution. I had no appetite to salt the earth. I wanted an exit. 2 things happened that week that dragged me past exit. First, a thick envelope arrived by courier, a cease and desist from the hospital's outside counsel, accusing me of harassment and public disclosure designed to damage reputation, and threatening a civil claim if I continued to disseminate insinuations. It was dressed like a letter from a bank you forgot you. Colin's tone translated to legal stationery. Second, a slim envelope arrived by mail from a lab out of state. months earlier, in a moment I'm not proud of. I'd sent in a home paternity test using a few stray hairs from my son's brush and my own cheek swab. It was a thought experiment born of paranoia and a Reddit thread that should have stayed closed. I'd put it out of my mind as cowardice. The results waited in my hand like a small animal I didn't want to feed. I opened the big envelope first. I read the lawyer threats, paced twice, and pictured Colin dictating phrases like tortious interference between patients. Then I opened the little one. The words were clean. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. My knees did not buckle. That happens in movies. I just sat down because the chair was there. I thought of back-to-school nights in a Lego fort I stepped on and bled for in a fishing trip where the line got caught. And he cried, and I said it was okay in a voice that tried to make it true. I thought of Aaron's midnight fevers in the way she had asked me once, after he was born, if I believed in fate. And I said I believed in bills. I put the slim envelope inside the thick one and closed both, like stacking bombs. I called my lawyer. I told her about the HOA night, the hospital letter, the DNA. She was quiet so long, I thought the call dropped. Then she said, "Okay, we're going to do this slow." Slow is not the enemy until it is. Colin filed a petition for a protective order, claiming I'd used technology to surveil and intimidate. He attached screenshots of my slides, helpfully cropping out the titles that said, "Demo." Aaron filed an emergency motion for exclusive use of the house to protect our child from conflict. Her declaration did not mention Colin by name. It did mention privacy invasions and public shaming. In court, the judge looked like a man one deposition away from leaving for a cabin forever. He scanned the filings. He frowned at me when my lawyer explained the router logs. "You held a public meeting," he asked. "A neighborhood meeting?" I said. I didn't name anyone. He frowned at Aaron when my lawyer slipped the DNA results across, then frowned at me again when opposing counsel suggested I'd weaponized data to embarrass. The protective order he granted was narrow but real. No contact with Colin. No posts, presentations, or public disclosure of private facts beyond attorneys. He granted Aaron temporary use of the house in the best interest of the child's routine. He granted me visitation, as agreed. He did not grant me a life I recognized. I moved, into a furnished short-term rental near the freeway that smelled like lemon cleaner and reheated leftovers. I bought duplicates of objects I already owned and labeled them smaller: toothbrush, mug, towel. I put the DNA envelope in a drawer and closed it. I saw my son in coffee shops and parks. He was polite and distant, the way teens are with parents who have started speaking foreign languages in the same house. The HOA pretended it had watched a training and nothing else. The hospital issued a statement about their physician's excellent record. The cul-de-sac held a barbecue without me. I drove by late and saw yellow shoes under a patio table and Aaron's laugh under the string lights. The neighborhood had recalibrated like a thermostat. The thing about revenge is that it feels like forward motion until consequence passes you like a faster car. I applied for a promotion. HR flagged the protective order. Stability risk, they said, and told me to try again next cycle. A recruiter I'd courted quietly asked if I had any ongoing situations. The word trailed off like a tone after a call drops down at night. In the lemon-clean kitchen, I scrolled my phone and didn't send 10 messages that would have made everything worse. Every few days, I pulled out the DNA letter and read the numbers as if they might change if I stared. 2 weeks before the final hearing on temporary orders. My son texted, "Can we talk after school?" I said yes and paced the apartment like a man, waiting for news that already knows his name. He arrived with his backpack slung and his mouth set. He sat at the edge of the couch like he didn't want to imprint. "Mom says you're trying to take me away from my house," he said. I said I was trying to keep the house from taking me away from him. He looked at the floor and said, "Colin helps me with physics." I swallowed a rock. "I can help you with physics," I said, a little too quickly. He nodded, as if grading a problem that didn't show its work. "Staying there," he said. "It's easier." He hugged me because he is good and left because he is young. The hearing came. The judge kept the temporary orders as is. "Stability," he said, like it was a gift. We set a mediation date. My lawyer said, "We can push harder later." Later feels like a promise until it feels like a trick. On the morning mediation papers should have been printed. Aaron's attorney sent a proposal that read like a checklist with my name removed. House to her. Child resides with her. I get every other weekend in Wednesday dinners. No disparagement. No mention of Colin. No mention of DNA. My lawyer said we could fight. The fight would cost money and blood. The result might be the same in a different font. That night, I boxed what remained of a life and labeled it the way you label things when you want to pretend control. Books, winter, office. The router blinked in the corner of the kitchen, like a lighthouse for a ship that didn't come home. I signed a lease on a long-term apartment with a view of the freeway. Trafficum is a kind of ocean if you lie to yourself. Well, don't move out day. I returned to the cul-de-sac with a small truck and 3 friends who still answered my calls. Aaron and Colin weren't there. My son stayed in his room with the door closed while I carried boxes past it like weather. Took the coffee table with the gouge from the Lego fort. I left the couch where the glasses had once stood like testimony. In the empty living room, the echo sounded like someone else's laugh. Before I handed over my keys, I walked through each room and did the thing I'm good at. I checked the logs. I wiped devices, removed my profiles, left a printed list of passwords Aaron would need, because even now I am the sort of man who leaves maps. On the kitchen counter, I placed one envelope. Not DNA, not threats, just a single page with the Wi-Fi network renamed to a word I wanted to live with. After I wished the story ended with a better line. A new job, a new city, a new river to run beside. The truth is smaller and meaner. I go to work. I pay a lawyer. I meet my son for burgers and talk about a physics test I didn't help him study for. I sleep next to a window that hums. Some nights, a silver SUV passes below, and I wonder if a yellow shoe presses a pedal. When people on the coldest act wave, I wave back because ritual is cheaper than grief. When the HOA newsletter lands in my inbox, I don't open it. I unsubscribe and it resubscribes itself like weeds. The only time I felt clean was the afternoon I took the DNA letter to a shredder at a public library and fed it through one line at a time until it turned to confetti. I did not keep a copy. I cannot unknow the number, but I refused to worship it. He is, in all the ways that count, mine enough to hurt me. Okay, that will have to be enough. Revenge looked like exposing a liar under fluorescent lights. The ending looks like a lease and a calendar with every other weekend blocked in blue and, a boy who texts, "Can I stay over Sunday night?" and then doesn't. There is no applause in a mending that doesn't quite take. On good nights, the freeway wind sounds like the ocean, and I can pretend we moved here on purpose. On bad nights, I hear a cheerful door chime in my head, and I lie awake, counting the number of times a guest code can open a door before you are just a guest in your own life.